The first week of May arrived not with thunder, but with eerie, calculated silence stretching across 10,000 miles of Pacific Ocean. The water still littered with debris of 27 warships, countless aircraft fragments, and personal effects of 11,347 confirmed dead, had become a liquid graveyard, watched over by satellites and reconnaissance drones that never blinked, never slept, never forgot. Both Washington and Beijing had retreated into their respective spheres, licking wounds far deeper than hull breaches, damaged radar systems, or destroyed infrastructure. The Chinese had pulled back their surface fleet, withdrawing behind the first island chain and consolidating positions near coastal bastions. But submarine activity had actually increased 23%, according to acoustic analysis conducted by 7th Fleet anti-submarine warfare units. Sonar detection reports indicated at least 18 Type 095 and Type 096 nuclear-powered attack and ballistic missile submarines prowling deep waters between Guam and the Philippines. Their positions marked on tactical displays as red icons pulsing with menacing regularity. "They're not retreating," Admiral Horace said quietly to the assembled staff, senior officers, intelligence analysts, and civilian defense contractors summoned for an emergency assessment. "They're repositioning for something bigger. Every indicator suggests this is the calm before an even more devastating storm." The intelligence assessment landed on President Dalman's desk at precisely 0600 May 3rd, delivered in a leather-bound classified folder marked with red diagonal stripes indicating top-secret sensitive compartmented information. It confirmed the worst fears whispered in secure conference rooms over the past 72 hours. Chinese cyber warfare units, operating from facilities in Guangzhou, Shanghai, and undisclosed locations in interior provinces, had spent every moment since the ceasefire probing vulnerabilities in American naval communication systems, power grid infrastructure, and the entire West Coast from Seattle to San Diego, financial networks undergirding the global economy, even computer systems controlling water treatment plants and hospital equipment. The pattern analyzed by NSA cryptographers and CIA cyber specialists working around the clock was unmistakable and terrifying. Preparation for a strategic strike designed not to sink ships or destroy bases, but to cripple the fundamental ability to coordinate military operations, maintain social order, and preserve economic function. Director of National Intelligence Margaret Stowe, a veteran of 3 previous administrations and someone who had witnessed every major crisis of the past 2 decades, delivered the briefing with clinical precision, barely masking deep concern. "Mr. President, we are facing a paradigm shift in the nature of warfare. The next phase of this conflict won't be fought with missiles alone. It won't be decided by the bravery of sailors or the skill of pilots. It will be fought in the shadows, cyberspace, complex networks connecting civilization itself, minds, hearts, our own citizens, through information warfare of unprecedented sophistication. China is preparing asymmetric warfare on a scale we have never encountered, never imagined, and frankly, never adequately prepared." Across the Pacific, in a heavily fortified command bunker buried beneath the western hills outside Beijing, a facility constructed during the Cold War to survive a nuclear attack and continuously upgraded with the most advanced technology available, President Liu Hao faced his own set of impossible choices, determining not just the outcome of the conflict, but potentially the survival of his regime. The Politburo Standing Committee, normally a unified front presenting choreographed consensus, had fractured, with competing factions arguing bitterly behind closed doors. Hardliners led by General Li Wuhao, a 62-year-old veteran of modernization campaigns who firmly believed in China's destiny to dominate the Pacific, demanded immediate escalation, including comprehensive missile strikes against U.S. assets in Japan, South Korea, and even Australia, to demonstrate that Chinese patience had limits. Moderates led by Vice Premier Chen Xiaoming, a former economics professor who understood the catastrophic financial implications of prolonged conflict, argued instead for a strategic pause, a period carefully termed active defense, allowing international mediators, perhaps Russia, with its complex relationships with both powers, or the European Union, with its economic leverage, to broker a ceasefire evolving into lasting peace. Lu Hao, sitting at the head of the conference table and listening as both sides presented arguments with increasing passion and decreasing civility, maintained an expression of absolute neutrality, revealing nothing of his inner thoughts. Finally, after 3 hours of debate that had grown uncomfortably heated, he spoke with the quiet authority that had carried him to the pinnacle of Chinese leadership. We will not pause. We will not give the Americans time to regroup, repair damaged ships, or replenish depleted missile stocks. But we will change the battlefield in ways they cannot anticipate and cannot counter with their traditional military advantages. Продолжение. Americans expect us to fight in the Pacific, engage in ship-to-ship combat and missile exchanges, where technological superiority gives them the edge. Instead, we will strike where they are weakest, most vulnerable. Not on the ocean they have dominated for 70 years, but the infrastructure supporting their war machine. Digital networks, undersea cables, satellite systems, without which precision weapons become useless metal. Initiate Operation Black Silk immediately. Operation Black Silk was the culmination of 15 years of strategic planning by the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force, China's Cyber and Space Warfare Division, established in 2015 and grown into a force of over 100,000 personnel operating facilities across the country. Its primary objective, refined through countless simulations and war games, was not destruction in the traditional sense, the creation of rubble and casualties, but disruption, the systems upon which modern military operations absolutely depended. Phase 1 would target undersea fiber optic cables carrying 97% of global internet traffic, including encrypted military communications, linking United States Pacific Command in Hawaii, with field units deployed across dozens of bases in Okinawa, Guam, South Korea, and Australia. These cables, laid across thousands of miles of ocean floor and representing billions of dollars in investment, were surprisingly vulnerable to attack by specialized deep-sea submersibles equipped with cutting tools, tapping devices, and explosive charges. Phase 2 would deploy advanced electronic warfare systems, including high-powered jammers positioned on islands throughout the South China Sea and aboard Chinese warships, to jam GPS satellite navigation signals across a zone stretching from Hawaii to Australia, an area encompassing over 20 million square miles of ocean and land. Without GPS, American precision-guided weapons would lose much of their accuracy. Aircraft would struggle with navigation, and ships would be forced to rely on outdated celestial navigation techniques that few modern sailors had ever practiced. Phase 3, the most audacious and technologically challenging component of the operation, would involve the deployment of electromagnetic pulse weapons capable of disabling electronic systems within a 200-mile radius, effectively creating dead zones where computers, radios, and even electronic ignition systems in vehicles would simply cease to function. The plan was brilliant in its strategic restraint, carefully calculated to avoid direct kinetic strikes that might trigger nuclear escalation while delivering a strategic blow that could paralyze American military operations for weeks and even months. Chinese military theorists had studied extensively the American way of war, its dependence on technology, reliance on global networks, and assumption that information would always be available at the touch of a screen. Operation Black Silk was designed to shatter those assumptions and force American commanders to fight blind, deaf, and disoriented. First indication that something fundamental had changed came at 0347 UTC on May 6th, when network monitoring systems across Southeast Asia began registering anomalous drops in internet connectivity. Within 15 minutes, overall bandwidth in the region had suddenly degraded by 63%, a decline so sudden and severe it could not be explained by normal traffic patterns or technical glitches. Within minutes, secure communication links between U.S. Pacific Command headquarters in Hawaii and field units in Okinawa, Guam, and Darwin began experiencing severe latency. Messages that normally took milliseconds to transmit now required minutes, or simply disappeared entirely into the digital void. Network engineers first blamed solar flare activity, a convenient explanation used before for unexplained disruptions. But by 0500, as the sun rose over the Pacific and more detailed analysis became possible, the truth became clear. Multiple undersea cables had been physically severed at precisely calculated points. The APG cable system connecting Southeast Asia to the United States, the SEA-EWE-3 cable system linking Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and Western Europe, and the Japan-US cable network carrying enormous volumes of financial and military data had all suffered catastrophic failures at nearly simultaneous points separated by thousands of miles. Satellite analysis conducted reconnaissance assets immediately redirected scan, suspected breakpoints revealed presence. Chinese deep-sea submersibles near each location, distinctive acoustic signatures captured underwater listening arrays, message delivered without single shot, fired, clear, deeply disturbing. China possessed both capability, will cut digital arteries Pacific at will, sever connections holding together not just military command control, entire architecture global commerce. Admiral Horace's response, immediate decisive ordered deployment, USS Nevada, Ohio-class, ballistic missile, submarine converted special operations. Enormous expense now carried not nuclear weapons, but teams, Navy SEALs. Unmanned underwater vehicles, sophisticated electronic warfare equipment. Patrol waters near suspected Chinese cable tapping sites, if possible, interdict further sabotage operations. Simultaneously, working secure channels, U.S. Cyber Command Headquarters Fort Meade authorized Operation Ghostwire, counter-cyber offensive design penetrate Chinese military networks, identify command nodes responsible coordinating Operation Black Silk, if possible, deliver disruptive payloads degrading Chinese capabilities. What followed next 72 hours, first true cyber war human history, battle fought not bullets explosions but code, carefully crafted exploits targeting zero-day vulnerabilities, artificial intelligence algorithms capable, adapting, evolving faster human analysts, track, comprehend. By May 8th, less 48 hours after cable cuts, economic consequences disruptions catastrophic, spreading terrifying speed. Stock markets Tokyo, Seoul, Sydney, heavily dependent real-time data feeds electronic trading systems crashed. Chaotic sessions saw circuit breakers triggered multiple times, combined losses exceeding $4.3 trillion market capitalization. Wealth simply evaporated. Investors panicked, sold everything could. Supply chains connecting Chinese manufacturers, Western markets disintegrated. Container ships dependent, satellite communications, digital tracking systems lost ability, receive routing instructions, customs clearances, even basic weather updates. Hundreds vessels sat idle harbors. Singapore, Los Angeles, captains uncertain whether proceed wait. Cargoes electronics, clothing, consumer goods slowly baking sun. Global economy already fragile after initial Pacific clashes, massive military expenditures required, began buckle weight uncertainty, fear, simple inability, conduct normal business operations. Washington Treasury Secretary Michael Harmon, former investment banker, witnessed financial crisis 2008, thought understood systemic risk, briefed president scenarios ranging recession, complete systemic collapse, international monetary system. If this continues more than 2 weeks, Harmon said grimly, usual confidence replaced visible concern, we're looking 1939 all over again, but nuclear weapons equation, no clear path recovery. European Union, recognizing growing alarm existential threat posed prolonged U.S.-China conflict, already disrupting own trade relationships, threatening economic recovery, convened emergency summit Brussels May 10th. French President Dubois, German Chancellor Richter, setting aside own frequent disagreements, present united front, jointly proposed ambitious mediation framework, included immediate ceasefire, phased withdrawal forces, pre-conflict positions, establishment demilitarized zone Western Pacific patrolled naval forces, neutral nations, formation International Oversight Commission, real enforcement powers prevent future escalations. Proposal transmitted simultaneously Washington, Beijing via secure diplomatic channels, backed implicit threat, European nations might impose own sanctions, whichever side refused negotiate good faith. President Dalman's response carefully drafted, National Security Council reviewed, Allies London, Tokyo cautious hopeful. We willing explore all paths peace, provided China ceases aggressive actions immediately, agrees verifiable confidence-building measures restore trust. President Liu Hao's response, delivered Foreign Minister Wang Yi carefully staged press conference Beijing, more cryptic, laden conditions. China defends sovereignty, legitimate interests. Any negotiation must recognize core concerns. Taiwan, South China Sea, presence foreign military forces near borders. While diplomats exchanged carefully worded statements, analyzed line by line foreign ministries around world, war continued to evolve unexpected, deeply troubling directions. May 12th, Chinese UN-class submarine operating near Bashi Channel, strategic waterway Taiwan, Philippines, seen intense activity throughout conflict, detected sophisticated passive sonar array, unusual acoustic signature, cluster small autonomous underwater vehicles moving coordinated formation depths between 200, 400 feet. These not conventional torpedoes, characteristic high-speed propulsion signatures, but something entirely new. Advanced AI-driven hunter-killer drones deployed USS Nevada, part Operation Ghostwire. Each equipped sophisticated sonar jammers, electronic warfare payloads, designed disrupt submarine communications, small-shaped charge designed disable submarine propulsion systems without sinking vessel-killing crew. UN's captain, Commander Wu Zhenghe, 20-year veteran submarine service, trained old Soviet tactics, embraced modern technology, faced impossible choice haunt dreams years come. Engage approaching swarm, risk revealing precise position, American attack submarines certainly lurking nearby, or remain silent, allow drones approach hoping pass without detecting vessel. He chose silence, ordering crews shut down non-essential systems, breathe quietly, become whole ocean. Fatal mistake, based outdated assumptions, submarine warfare worked. Precisely 16-22 hours, 3 drones' AI systems processed thousands of acoustic data points, identified UN's position, 97% confidence, attached themselves submarine's hull-powerful magnetic clamps. Presence immediately detected, hull-mounted sensors triggered alarms throughout vessel. Moments later, shaped charges detonated precisely calculated sequence. Explosions carefully calibrated sever control cables, flood specific compartments without breaching pressure hull, causing catastrophic lost life. Submarine propulsion disabled, ability dive compromised, no choice surface. Breaking waves, emergency blow, sent water cascading black hull. Crew 83 men rescued Chinese frigate 4 hours later, cold, shaken, alive. Psychological impact devastating, spread rapidly a Chinese submarine fleet. China's vaunted submarine force, once considered nearly undetectable, decisive advantage Pacific conflict, hunted, neutralized not another submarine-skilled sonar operators but machines. Algorithms never tired, never lost concentration, never felt fear doubt. Implications discussed hushed tones, wardrooms, command centers. If American autonomous systems could hunt submarines effectively, what else could they do? How could human commanders hope counter them? Answer came sooner, more dramatically anyone expected. May 14, Chinese radar stations positioned along coast Fujian province, Guangdong province, detected unprecedented aerial formation approaching east, moving altitudes 5,000, 15,000 feet. First radar operators assumed conventional airstrike. Dozens contacts moving subsonic speeds toward mainland. Patterns suggested attack aircraft. But formation drew closer. More sensor data became available. Analysis revealed disturbing truth, forced immediate escalation alerts, highest military authorities. These not manned aircraft flown pilots shot down captured, but swarm over 300 autonomous combat drones, each equipped advanced electronic warfare systems, precision-guided munitions, most importantly AI algorithms capable independent target selection, adaptive behavior, coordination without any human input whatsoever. Swarm designated Operation Locust, U.S. military planners reference overwhelming biblical plague, launched distributed network platforms including surface ships, submarines, vertical launch systems, mobile ground launchers secretly positioned islands throughout Philippine Sea. Mission carefully defined human commanders, executed entirely machine intelligence. Not destroy Chinese military capabilities outright, would require far more munitions drones carried, but overwhelm air defense networks, forcing Chinese commanders expend precious surface-to-air missiles, reveal precise locations, radar installations, command centers through electronic emissions, create gaps, coverage, exploited follow-on strikes. Chinese response fierce, ultimately chaotic, ineffective. Surface-to-air missiles streaked upward, dozens batteries detonating brilliant clusters, illuminated night sky, created momentary suns visible 50 miles. Fighter jets, J-16s, J-20s, flown China's best pilots, scrambled inland bases, Ningbo, Fuzhou, racing intercept swarm before reached critical infrastructure targets, power plants, communications nodes, military headquarters. But drones too numerous, too dispersed, hundreds miles airspace, too intelligent. Adaptive behavior splits subgroups real time. Formations acting decoys draw fire. Others slipped gaps coverage, jamming communications. Air defense batteries couldn't coordinate responses. Deploying electronic decoys created false radar returns. Sacrificing themselves calculated kamikaze attacks, draw fire away drones carrying real munitions. By time swarm dissipated dawn, mission accomplished. Remaining units destroyed, exhausted fuel, crashed sea. 47 Chinese radar sites damaged, completely destroyed. Along 3 underground command bunkers, locations secret. 2 major airfields, runways cratered, unusable. Countless secondary targets, opportunity. Cost United States military 162 drones, representing $20 million hardware development costs. Less 10th operational budget, single carrier strike group deployment. 0 casualties, 0 pilots never come home, 0 families receiving folded flags, military funerals. President Liu Hao convened emergency session, Central Military Commission, 0600, May 15. Voice normally calm, measured even crisis, carrying sharp edge anger, frustration few subordinates ever heard. We fighting yesterday's war, yesterday's tactics. Americans fighting tomorrow's war, weapons barely understand. Change rules engagement fundamentally. Must change immediately. Lose not just conflict. Position great power, capable defending interests. General Li Wuhao stung criticism, determined restore reputation, proposed immediate response. Accelerated deployment, China's own swarm technology, development not yet fully tested. Combined renewed missile barrage targeting U.S. bases, Guam, Okinawa. DF-26 intermediate-range ballistic missiles remain China's most reliable tool striking distant targets. But Vice Premier Chen Xiaoming raised critical objection, forced room pause consider. If escalate further kinetic strikes, especially American territory Guam, risk triggering very unlimited conflict both sides claim want avoid. Conflict go nuclear. Miscalculations occur if either side believes faces existential defeat. Instead, escalation should focus resources, defensive measures, hardening infrastructure, redundant systems, underground facilities. Dispersing forces make harder target. Most importantly, developing effective counter-swarm technologies, including directed energy weapons, electromagnetic pulse systems, own AI-driven defensive drones hunt American swarms. Debate followed, rage 7 hours, secure conference room, arguments growing increasingly heated. Military-civilian officials defended positions, mounting passion. In end, pragmatism, caution prevailed aggression. China not launch new wave missile strikes might trigger American counterstrikes mainland. Instead, unveil own technological surprise, demonstrate Chinese military science not inferior. May 17th, Chinese state media broadcast carefully worded announcement, accompanied computer-generated imagery. People's Liberation Army successfully tested new generation defensive systems capable neutralizing advanced aerial threats, including swarm technologies. Further details revealed appropriate time operational security permits. Western intelligence agencies, satellites immediately redirected, analysts working around the clock, scrambled to interpret statement, assess whether it represented real capability, merely propaganda designed to boost domestic morale. Satellite imagery test sites, Inner Mongolia, carefully analyzed. Changes infrastructure activity patterns showed massive deployments. Appeared directed energy weapons, high-powered microwave emitters, mounted mobile trucks, capable frying electronic circuits, drones, missiles, ranges exceeding 50 miles. If systems truly operational, deployed sufficient numbers, could potentially render American drone swarms obsolete overnight, resetting technological balance, forcing yet another round expensive countermeasures. Meanwhile, human cost conflict continued. Mount Ways transcended military casualties, strategic calculations. May 18th, major humanitarian crisis erupted Western Pacific. Reality conflict penetrated civilian consciousness. Thousands, civilian sailors, fishermen operating traditional fishing grounds, merchant marine workers found themselves stranded aboard vessels, caught hostile military forces, regarded anything operating zones potential threats. Insurance companies, risk models shattered unexpected outbreak war, canceled coverage commercial ship operating 2,000 miles conflict zone, effectively stranding over 300 vessels owners could not afford risk uninsured losses. Rescue operations coordinated International Red Cross, working navies neutral nations, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, became dangerous ballet diplomacy logistics requiring constant negotiation, ensure rescue ships not mistaken military targets. One operation, evacuation cargo ship MV Pacific Dawn, crew 23 mariners, 8 nations, nearly triggered new firefight. Chinese-American military helicopters arrived simultaneously seen, each believing exclusive rights conduct rescue. Only frantic radio negotiations, conducted English-Chinese, both sides gradually backing aggressive postures, prevented humanitarian rescue, becoming another flashpoint expanding conflict. Washington political landscape shifted dramatically. Congressional leaders, both parties demanded answers. Why conflict escalated quickly? What endgame? Most pressingly, how would end? President Dahlman addressed Joint Session Congress, May 20th. Speech carefully calibrated balance, resolve, restraint. We did not seek conflict, not back down commitments, allies, principles, international law. Same time recognize war serves no one's interests. Prepared negotiate position, strength, not weakness. Speech received cautious applause. Behind closed doors, President faced rebellion-owned generals. Admiral Horace, tense Oval Office meeting, laid stark choice. Mr. President can either commit full-scale war, accept risks, or negotiate current position, accept compromise. What cannot continue half-measure indefinitely, costing lives, treasure, credibility. Beijing faced similar pressures. May 22nd, leaked documents revealed deep divisions Politburo. Several senior officials privately advocated negotiated settlement, arguing continued conflict risked not only military defeat, internal instability. China's economy, heavily dependent global trade, hemorrhaging capital. Foreign investors pulled over $800 billion Chinese markets. Unemployment rising, food prices spiking, agricultural supply chains collapsed. President Liu Hao, once seen unshakable, now faced whispers potential leadership challenge. Response characteristically bold. May 24th, delivered televised address nation. China endured hardships before, emerged stronger. Moment, no different. Will defend sovereignty, also seek path peace, respects dignity future. Speech met carefully orchestrated public support. Intelligence analyst Washington noted subtle shift tone. First time Liu Hao used word peace without preconditions. Breakthrough came unexpected source. May 26th, Prime Minister Singapore, acting neutral intermediary, proposed secret talks held Geneva auspices, United Nations. Both Washington and Beijing, exhausted wary further escalation, agreed send delegations. Talks began May 29th. Secure facility surrounded Swiss security forces. American delegation, led Secretary State Linda Hartwell, arrived detailed proposal, immediate cessation hostilities, mutual withdrawal pre-conflict positions, establishment neutral monitoring force, creation Pacific security framework prevent future clashes. Chinese delegation, led Foreign Minister Wang Yi, countered demands recognition, Chinese territorial claims South China Sea, limitations, U.S. military presence region, reparations, damages inflicted conflict. Negotiations grueling, lasting 18 hours, day nearly week. Both sides traded accusations, walked sessions, returned only frantic diplomatic interventions. Sticking point, Taiwan. China insisted formal commitment, United States cease arms sales, military cooperation island. U.S. refused, arguing concession betray, democratic ally, undermine regional stability. Talks seemed destined to fail. Then June 4th, dramatic development changed calculus. Massive earthquake, magnitude 8.4, struck Philippine Sea, triggering tsunami devastated coastal communities. Philippines, Taiwan, southern Japan. Thousands killed, hundreds, thousands displaced. Disaster forced both sides confront bitter truth. While fought dominance, nature demonstrated ultimate futility conflict. Within hours, both American and Chinese naval forces redirected humanitarian missions. Pacific Ocean, once symbol vast emptiness, become chessboard where every move carried existential stakes. Admiral Horace, classified memo Joint Chiefs Staff dated June 20th. Some sentiment, brutal clarity. We avoided Armageddon, not eliminated possibility. Next conflict, when comes, will faster, more automated, less controllable, anything faced. Time must prepare not just war, but war may begin end before human commanders intervene. Future now inhabit. Beijing similar assessment circulated Central Military Commission. General Li Wuhao, despite earlier hawkishness, penned sobering analysis. Americans demonstrated technological superiority, autonomous systems, cyber warfare. Must close gap, not imitation, innovation. Next confrontation decided not size fleets, but intelligence-embedded weapons. Must invest artificial intelligence, quantum computing, next-generation sensors, or find ourselves outmatched before first shot fired. Summer descended Pacific. Conflict scars remained visible. Wreckage still littered seabed. Families mourned lost sailors. Economies struggled recover. Beneath surface, profound transformation underway. Both superpowers glimpsed abyss, chosen step back. Yet systems, ideologies, technologies-driven brink remained place, evolving, improving, waiting next miscalculation, accident, moment deterrence, again collapse destruction. Question not whether another conflict come, but when, and whether humanity wise enough, lucky enough, survive. In Pacific Inferno burned, leaving world forever changed. Rules engagement rewritten, not diplomats, generals, but cold logic machines, unforgiving arithmetic escalation. Third World War paused, shadow stretched long horizon, reminder age advanced technology, great power rivalry, peace not permanent state, but fragile interval between storms. Somewhere depths ocean, reaches space, next storm already gathering strength, waiting moment break.